Hi, I am Laura Plum, and I want to take a Jyotish look. I want to peer into the stars of King Charles and his son, Prince William. So we'll share the screen. And the first chart we'll look at here is King Charles, just to sort of have a look at what's going on. He is a Cancer rising. This is the rising sign. You can see the first house here. 4 means Cancer. So if you're new, the signs are these numbers here. These are the constellations. And the house number is written on the outside. Always the top diamond in the North Indian style is the first house that relates to the ascendant, which I often refer to as the rising sign. So he's got Cancer rising. The moon is the planet that rules the rising sign, is in his 10th house of governing. So that makes a lot of sense. He's got moon in Aries. Aries is ruled by Mars, which is strong in his chart over here in the 5th house in the sign of Scorpio. Mars is in dignity in its own sign of Scorpio. He also has Jupiter in dignity in Sagittarius, but it's in the 6th house of illness. So he happens to be currently in a Jupiter Dasha period. He went into the Jupiter Dasha period in January of 2013. And that's great because Jupiter will often give rise. Jupiter expands, grows, brings blessings, grace, spiritual growth as well, but it can also bring one to a ruling position, to the ruling classes. And with that can come greater wealth and even greater appreciation, greater respect. It's actually usually a really awesome time. Now, the thing is, of course, Jupiter did, while it was in Aries, Jupiter currently is transiting Aries. And so Jupiter in Aries since April of 2023 brought him to the throne, right? Brought him to his coronation. So Jupiter currently transiting King Charles's moon, King Charles's Rahu, this is the North Lunar Node, which can give rise, can give fame when it's in the 10th house. And Jupiter is also transiting his 10th house. So since April of 2023, he also had Rahu in Aries in his 10th house. So of course that was the time, probably predicted by Jyotish that that would be the time that he would come to the throne, that he would have his coronation, that he would be crowned king. So that makes sense, and that's great. The only problem is that Jupiter's a little bit of a mixed bag for him because his own Jupiter in his birth chart is posited in the 6th house, which is a house, well, we could say, to be kind about it, it's a house of healing, but it's also a house of enemies, debts, and illness. So Jupiter seems to have brought him a bit of an illness. Now, it brought a first illness that he was able to overcome. Jupiter, or any planet in the 6th house, when it's activated, usually gives us the strength to overcome, the strength to heal, the strength to be victorious. Having said that, currently he also has a Saturn transit through his 8th house. So in the world, Saturn is currently transiting Aquarius. And in the case of King Charles, that's the 8th house, right? So the transit is a transit that can bring about some real health issues and health challenges. At the same time, Saturn in his birth chart is in the 2nd house and rules his 7th house. Of course, he came to marital happiness later in life. That's very much a Saturn thing to give. But also what that means is Saturn in the 2nd in his case and ruling his 7th makes Saturn a Maraka planet for him. And that means Saturn in its transit of the 8th house can really be seriously challenging, and he needs to be very careful. He's in this overall Jupiter Dasha period. Jupiter Dasha periods are 16 years. It started in 2013, and it will go until 2029 for him. So he's got a good 5 more years of this wonderful Jupiter period. Jupiter is exalted when it's in Cancer, and so therefore very, very friendly to a Cancer rising person, with the exception that he has Jupiter in his chart is in the 6th house, another thing that caused delay in terms of him rising into rulership. But let me just add that inside of the Jupiter Dasha period, his sub period, the Antar Dasha period that he's currently in, is Jupiter's Sun. He was in Jupiter Venus from late November 2020 until late July 2023. Now, since July 30th, 2023, he's in a Jupiter Sun Dasha period. Sun is a friendly planet to Cancer rising people. The problem is Sun is the ruler of his 2nd house, also Maraka house, and in his chart, Sun is in Libra, which makes it a debilitated planet. So it's a time, well, Jupiter's there for him, and Jupiter's an expansive planet that gives growth and blessings and grace and good reputation and many, many, many good things. But the transits, especially the Saturn transit of the 8th, plus the fact that Saturn rules his 2nd and his 7th, and the sub-dasha period of Sun ruling his 2nd, and weak in his chart in the 4th, I think gives us real concern for his health and his wellness. And so people who are King Charles fans, people who are fans of the monarchy, yeah, you want to say some prayers or some mantras for King Charles right now. And then if we look at Prince William's chart, I wanted to look at that to see if there's any indications that he might be coming soon to the throne. And, real prayers, and I say this with great respect. I just say that Prince William has been in a very long Saturn Dasha period. These Waleses primarily have rising signs and planets, actually, that rule one camp of planets. So there's two camps. There's the camp of Saturn, Venus, Mercury. These Waleses seem to have most of their strong planets and rising sign in the other camp of Sun, Moon, Jupiter, and Mars, which totally makes sense. But Prince William has Sagittarius rising, and then he's got in the 10th house Saturn and Mars. And so Saturn and Mars look like they could make him a very serious leader, also very brave, but also could give delay before he actually steps into leadership. It could give professional delay. He currently is in that Saturn Dasha period, as I started to say earlier. He's been in it since 2009. And Saturn is just not friendly. It's not friendly to Cancer rising people, as with his father. It's not friendly to Sagittarius rising people, as in the case of Prince William. He has a beautiful chart. He does have a Jupiter and Libra in the 11th house, which is very strong for him. And what's interesting is that he does come into the latter part of his Saturn Dasha period, his 19-year Saturn Dasha period, starting in March of 2026. That latter period, the Antardasha or sub period, Saturn Jupiter becomes the sub period. So the end of your Saturn Dasha period is always the lightest. You get a real feeling that it's coming to an end. You start to feel the heaviness starts to lift off of you. And that for Prince William starts in, as I said, late March 2026. Just to go back, his Saturn Dasha period started in 2009. And I think you feel that he's been under some sort of heaviness really since then. He was in a Jupiter period since 1993, since he was 11. And let's see, and then he was in a Jupiter Saturn Dasha period when his mother died. So Saturn is, you see what I'm saying? That Jupiter is a great Dasha period for somebody. King Charles is in his Jupiter Dasha period, but the Antar Dasha period can really modify that, can mediate that, can really give. I often think when you've got Jupiter and Saturn active in your chart, in your life, it's a bit of stop go. It's a bit of light expanse, heavy contract. And so King Charles is in a Jupiter Sun period, but the transits have him in a heavy Saturn period. We also currently have Mars in the world right now, February 5th until middle of March. Mars is exalted now in Capricorn. Remember, Mars rules his moon. So that does suggest that there's likely to be some surgery. And if it's in this period, it could be very successful. He has a very strong Mars to his chart. Mars is friendly to Cancer. Mars currently is transiting Capricorn, his 7th house, meaning it's got a direct aspect to his rising sign. And the rising sign represents the physical body as well as longevity. Although Mars in an aspect to the rising sign, well, fortunately, it's a friendly planet to him and it's exalted right now. Although, Mars aspect in the rising sign still can throw some fire or can throw an accident or some injury to the person, which sounds like he's going to have a surgery. So that's King Charles. Prince William in the final stages of his Saturn Dasha period, right? He still has until October 2028 to go. So he's still got 4.5 years. He's in Saturn Rahu. Is it possible that in his Saturn Dasha period, he comes to the throne? The Saturn Jupiter period looks like it could be likely. That's March 2026 until October 2028. I want to say let's hope that the prince and princess have more time with their family before he has to assume those duties, and that King Charles and Queen Camilla have more time in the position that they are now in. yeah, let's hope and pray for that. The Saturn for Prince William is in the third house, so the transit of Saturn in Aquarius to his third house, and the fact that he's in the Saturn Dasha period, Saturn ruling his third house, that's unfortunate. That's the house of siblings and peers, and you can see that there's that Saturn heaviness, that trouble um, with Prince William and his brother Harry. And so that might continue. Now, once Prince William finishes this Saturn period into 2028, it's not until October 2028, but then he goes into a Mercury period. Mercury rules his sun, his moon, his seventh house of marriage, one-on-one relationship, and it also rules his 10th house of career. So Mercury Dosha period is, he will he will become king in his Mercury Dosha period, if not sooner. That's a 17-year period. It goes all the way until 2045. At that point, it gives him 17 years to ascend the throne and to be a king. And, let's hope that it comes in his Mercury Dasha period and not sooner. As I said, let's hope for longevity for everyone. I just wanted to give you a little bit of an overview, a little bit of a look. There's lots more things we can be looking at here in the charts, but it gives you a sampling of how we work with Jyotish, how we look at Jyotish, how Jyotish gives us the insight into the stars by looking at the birth chart, the transits, and the dasha periods. There's many other things to look at, as I said, Vargas, yogas, etc. This is just a quick look. I hope that is well. May all people everywhere know the beauty of the stars and know that you are born of the stars. You too are a star, and hopefully long life to all. Thank you.